January has been a crazy busy month, and these are the tools I reached for the most. January 2025 has been a crazy month so far, and I hope the year continues this way. I have been so busy doing front end work, tons of diesels, all kinds of work across the board, and these are the tools I reach for the most that help me out. Let's go check it out. But before we do, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell. You get notified of all my future content, which you definitely don't want to miss. All right, let's get into the tools. Now, what I like about this scan tool is we've got this auto scan feature here. Now, this is just like any other scan tool. Sometimes the manufacturer does not allow auto scan. Some manufacturers allow it back further, and some they keep it where it has to be newer. You can scan it there. It's going to automatically detect the vehicle. It's going to pull everything up. On some vehicles, it's going to ask you more questions. On Sprinters, is it diesel? Is it left-hand drive? On Chevy, it's going to ask you a whole bunch of questions. However, this is an awesome tool, and I just got an upgrade with this yesterday. So on 18 and newer Chrysler products, Fiat, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, I use this scan tool all the time, and I work on quite a bit of Cummins. And 18 and up, when you hook up to a Cummins, if you do not have a secure gateway, you're going to come to a prompt that's going to say, log into your secure gateway. And if you don't, it's going to say you only have the ability to pull codes, and that's it. And you're going to get very little codes. So I went through, and we have a factory scan tool. We have the WeTech, so I can hook up to that and look at modules that need to be programmed. I can look at functional tests. I can do everything. I can program modules. However, the factory scan tool in the WeTech is not very fun to use when you're using it as a scan tool. I want to be able to use my scan tool because this is awesome. The graphing capabilities, the functional tests, the way everything pulls up, and the fact that I could just set it on my lap and go drive. So I upgraded to Secure Gateway on my scan tool, and it was $50 for a year. You have to create an auto auth account, and it's $50 a year. And when it pulled up the list, it was like Chrysler for everything, and then it had Mercedes, and it had something else. And Mercedes, you had to have like a verified tech account, but to add a manufacturer, it's $50. So if Ford decided to start adding the Secure Gateway, I would pay $50, and I'd be able to do Ford and Chrysler. Now, what I like about this, and I just found out this morning, is you can go here and you can go to module, and in the module function, you have ADOS, you have tester, oscilloscope, and the TC001. Now, we have the Phoenix Max, which is the big Mac Daddy Phoenix Topdon scan tool, and we bought the scope kit that goes with it. And I just found out all I have to do is plug that scope kit into here, and I can use this as a scope. So I can do my scan tool testing, I can do all my scope testing, everything with this scan tool. So this is awesome. And if you're going to get this, I recommend you get the Secure Gateway if you work on many Chryslers. This is my my number one tool. I use this almost every single day. I use this to program injectors, to do functional tests, pull codes, look at data, everything. My number two tool is from Milwaukee. Now, I never actually thought I was going to buy this tool because I have an Air right angle die grinder that I use to clean gasket surfaces and things like that. And I just thought, why would I ever want a cordless one? Well, let me tell you, I bought this, it was on a special, and I'm so glad I did. And with buying this, I did an upgrade. So STS Auto Design. So this right angle die grinder, it has a lever that goes from here and up and over the trigger. And then it's got a little safety arm. Well, the safety arm, you can zip tie that out of the way so you don't have to pull it back to depress it. However, that lever is a pain in the butt. And if you're in a tight spot, I mean, this isn't small like the Air ones. The Air ones are super small. You can reach all the way around that thing. So with this being kind of large, that lever, to me, it got in the way. So I upgraded to the STS Auto Designs button. So you take the lever off, and you pull the button off, the trigger button, and you put this on, and this gives you a much larger area to push the button to be able to activate the right angle die grinder. Now, I also have all the STS Auto Design mag packs, so I can put it to a locker, I can put it to a lift arm on these. The magnets, it's a very small magnet, so you have a very small area, but when you're set on a lift arm, it'll stick like this. You don't have to worry about it falling off. The big ones, you can stick those right to a locker. You can stick them to anything. So STS Auto Designs, use code Nuts and Bolts with Tone for 10% off. My next tool is the Lite Twin Task Headlamp. Now we have really tall ceilings and the lights are way high, so it's not super bright, especially under the hood of cars. And I don't have the greatest eyes, so I need it to be lit up. So I have this headlamp and I use this all the time. Now what I like about this headlamp, and I always have, is when you're on a creeper and you have something on the back, it gets in the way when you're on a creeper. Now I work on diesels and I don't always lift them up, or sometimes I can't because they're too big. So when I'm on a creeper, I just take the battery pack and I roll this to the side like that. And now I can put my head on my creeper. Now this also swivels all the way up and all the way down. It has spot, it has flood. I believe on flood it has 2 functions, and I mean on spot it has 2 light settings, I believe, and on flood it has 3. Now I love this headlamp. This is my, I think, 4th one. I have one at home, and this one's brand new because I had one that it wasn't charging and I thought it was the battery. So I bought a new battery on Amazon, and it worked until the battery died. So I sent it in and they sent me a brand spanking new headlamp in the package. So Streamlight twin task headlamp, and it is rechargeable. You just plug in right there. Now my next tool is from Koken Tools. Now these are the lug nut sockets. Now these are nice because they have a protective sleeve on the outside. They're thin wall. So if you have those really nice wheels, it's not going to damage the inside. I worked at a shop where a guy took the wheels off. Customer came to pick it up. There was a couple little dings inside where the lug nuts go, and it wasn't there to start with. We had to buy the guy 4 brand new wheels because it damaged the wheels. Now these are awesome. This comes in a 17, 19, and 21. They also have a 22, which is in my cart right now to order. So I want all 4 because I use the 22 quite often, and I love these things. Now if you go to kokenusa.com, use code nuts and bolts with Tone for 10% off, and you can get a really good deal on Koken Tools. Now, these are also color coded, so you know which one's which. These are awesome. Next up is my Milwaukee Stubby. Now, this is the new Stubby. This one is like, I think 550 foot-pounds or something like that. It's a lot. It's a lot more than the old one. And I have a lot of people that said, well, I'll just stick to my old one. Tell you what, I have the old one and I have this one, and you use the old one and then you use this, you'll never want to touch the old one again. Now this is awesome, but what you need to get that maximum output from this gun is you need a 5.0 high output battery. So I have this, I have a couple of these, and I also have the STS Auto Designs mag pack on these, and this is why you want that. Right there, sticks to your lift arm, it's not going to fall off. So these are super awesome. If you go to STS Auto Designs and use code nuts and bolts with Tone, you get 10% off. This Stubby is awesome. It comes in a 3/8, comes in a half, and they have a half where it doesn't have the ring. It has a ball detent, but I haven't seen that one. That is actually the one I really would want. I didn't know about it until I did a Milwaukee video. Next up is from Topdon. Now this is the BT200P. This is a battery tester, and I actually use this quite often. The shop has one, but we have multiple people that do oil changes, and I could never find that battery tester. Every time I need it, I go in the office, it's not there. I have to go around and find it, and it's very nice to open up my locker and grab this and just go right to it. When you hook up, the screen lights up. It'll tell you if you have a good connection or not. If you have a good connection, it'll light up. It'll give you a battery option. It'll give you a charging option. When you're all done, you can print. It has the roll of paper right here. It's got a nice length of lead. So you could actually hook up to the battery and bring this over to you while you're doing a starting test. So I really like this Topdon BT300P. So that's my, I've used this quite often. Actually, last week I used this tool like 8 times. Sold a whole bunch of batteries. My next tool is Sunex Tools, and that is their sockets. So I have so many of their sockets. I have deep 1/2 inch. I've got 1/2 inch impact wobbles. I've got 1/4 impact wobbles. We've got magnetic sockets. And I've got, I got the magnetic 1/4 drive wobbles as well. Those are 12 point. So that's those right there. I have a whole set of those. And I have the 3/8 impact wobbles. Now I use these all the time, and I've been very fortunate this year to do quite a few front end jobs and struts and things like that. And when I'm under the vehicle and I'm doing those kinds of jobs, I'm using all Sunex tools. And I'm using my Milwaukee 3/8 stubby. I use that for everything. Take the whole front end off with that one. I don't even need another gun. And with all my SunX Tools sockets, I get the job done. Haven't had any issues. And over the last like 8 or 9 years that I've been using SunX Tools, I've only had to warranty a few times, and it's very simple. I emailed in, sent a picture of the socket, the part number, and it came in the mail. So I really like that feature. It's really nice and not a lot of issues. All right, my next tool, I use this quite often. When I first got this, I did not use it that often. This is the Maxeon LumaStick. Now, the way that this originally comes is it comes where the light is on the outside here, like this. So the problem with that is that most hoods are angled this way, and when you put the light on the hood, it can't angle in to give you a good visual. So what I did was one of my followers on Instagram told me to flip the light around. So I took it all apart, and I'm actually going to have a video on this really soon on how to do this. I took this all apart, and inside of here, there is 2 plates that snap together, and there's a little locating tab on both of them. Well, unfortunately, the locating tab is in a different spot on both sides. So you can't take it and just completely flip it. You have to break the locating tab off. But as soon as you do that, now you've got this light where the light is on the inside, and you can put it at whatever angle you want. I've used this inside doors on Power Strokes where I'm doing latches, sticks it right up there, and I can twist it. It's got a really nice magnet. Even has a belt clip if you want to hook it on a belt. It's got several features. It's got a flashlight on the end, and it's got a UV light. So this has been my #1 light aside from my headlamp. Now, my last 2 tools are electrical testing tools. Now, a lot of times when you're testing electrical, you have to disconnect the connector, and you have to check for power and ground. Well, I made the mistake a very, very long time ago. I had an ABS problem. I replaced the wheel speed sensor, and when I got all done, it looked like I needed a module, and it turned out that what happened is I stuck my lead into the connector, and it opened it up. So then when I put the connector back on the ABS module, it wasn't making connection on that wire. So I created a problem, and it cost me quite a few hours to get this figured out. And so I've got that figured out now. So I've got this forward probe kit from DYVO. We've got male and female. So there's different sizes. They're color coded. So the purple, there's female and male, and the purples go together. The orange goes together. The black goes together. And then what this does is this gives you the right size pin to put into the connector. So if you've got spades on the inside, if you've got male pins and you need to connect to it, you can just slide on the female forward probe and then set your meter aside, your check engine check load cage, your power probe, your multimeter, whatever, turn on your compressor, turn on whatever, and then you can see your power. You're not worried about a connection issue when you're trying to get in there. And a lot of times connectors have a whole bunch of pins. So you can't put alligator clips in there. In the past, I've had to wrap electrical tape around testers and things like that to not touch other pins. I don't have to worry about this anymore. And the male ones, you find the right size, slides right in the connector, and when you're done, the pins are not opened up. You don't have any issues. The last tool is the check engine check load cage. Now, this was all over TikTok when it first came out. I saw a lot of people posting with this. Now, one of the biggest problems when you test electrical, and a lot of times younger guys, they don't understand this. When you're checking for power and ground to see, like, let's say you have a compressor that's not working and you disconnect the connector and you check it, you've got 12.3 volts and you check ground, you've got 0 volts. You plug in the connector, you turn on your compressor, it doesn't turn on. Well, that's because the wiring has a problem. The wiring cannot carry a load. Voltage does not operate a component. Current operates a component, and current is electrical flow. So how you check for that is very simple. You've got this check engine check load cage. It has a headlamp bulb in there, which is serviceable. Take out the 4 screws on the top, take it off, replace your bulb, and away you go. So you've got this cage. It's in a plastic box or a 3D printed box. It's not going to get hot. You can set it anywhere. Set it on top of wiring, set it on top of radiator hoses. It doesn't matter. On the paint. And you have your 2 leads here. So recently I had a power stroke and it has an alternator issue. You check it at the alternator and it has no power on the wire. Well, the flow chart says specifically to disconnect the connector and check it with a headlamp bulb. You're not checking it for 12 volts, 13. You're not checking it for voltage. You're checking it with a headlamp bulb to make sure that it lights the light bulb. So let's say you have a test light or a multimeter or a power probe and you just tap into there. It might say 12.3 volts, but then you hook up this and it doesn't light the bulb. So this was very simple. This truck had 2 alternators. I went to one alternator. I put the black lead to ground. I put the other lead with my forward probe, touched the pin, it lit up. Then I went to the other alternator, touched the pin, it did not light up. That battery power wire is completely open, and now I have like 4 hours of diag time to go try to find the open wire. But it was really nice because I was able to use this to check to make sure it worked, and I'm using a headlight bulb, which is what it says. So this is my last favorite tool of the year and what I've used so often. Now, one last tool that I use quite often, it's not a tool, but it's an organization system, and that is the toolbox widget. Now, here is all the sockets. You can see I've got all my sockets set up. Got my wrenches. Got all my pliers. I just redid this drawer, so I've got all my Lyle pliers here. I've got these little clip poppers. I've got all my extensions, my extra ratchets. And you can see right there all my pliers. Now, by having all of these tools organized like this, I know that I could come over here and that's a 14 millimeter deep 3/8 socket. Now, what I do something weird is, since I have all these sockets, it's impossible to be able to pick out what socket is what. So what I do is I mark a tile. So all the 3/8 and half, I color the tile. And so I know that that's a 14 milli 3/8. This is a 14 milli 3/8 impact wobble. This is a semi-deep socket, and then you come over to the 10, and all my 10s are highlighted in the quarter, and then I have a little bit of standard, and so I color the quarter in 5/16 because that's what I use the most. So having all of this organized helps me so much, but what really makes it the best is this. So you see that little orange peg right there. If I look at my cart at the end of the day and I've put everything away and I see that, then I know I'm missing a tool. Or let's say I'm over here and I see that. I know I'm missing a wrench. So now hopefully before I pull the car out, I can go find that tool before it leaves with the customer. So thanks for watching the video. Drop a comment down below and let me know if you have any of these tools, if you like them, or if any of them are on your short list. I'll see you guys next time.